Welcome to nightly peace of mind. Tonight we float gently down the stream of awareness, following the Buddha's whispers about emptiness, presence, and the deep calm that lives beneath all criticism. A still river winds mind tonight. You sit beside it, not really doing anything, just being. There's a rustle of leaves nearby, the chirp of some small, night-active bird, and the silvery wash of moonlight on water. In this soft, simple quiet, the teachings come more as sensations than as thoughts. The Buddha doesn't appear with flashing lights or thunderclaps. He arrives like a breeze, or maybe like a boat empty and gliding silently across the surface. It's peaceful here, almost too peaceful. Your mind, which is so often caught in the day's dramas and little pokes of irritation, starts to fidget. "What's next?" it whispers. "What did they mean by that comment earlier? Should I have said more? Said less?" You recognize the thoughts. They come, like ripples after a pebble toss. But tonight, something is different. You remember, you probably won't survive this. No, really? Not in a grim way, just the honest truth. Every breath you take is one you've never taken before, and every night might be your last chance to sit with yourself with no pretense. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while we're here together, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You sit by the river bank. The moon reflects off the water like a wide, silver eye, half-lidded and serene. You watch the slow current, so lazy it barely seems to move. Floating down this river is a small, worn boat. It drifts without oar, without purpose, gently bumping against the shore. And strangely, it bumps into your thoughts, too. That boat, quiet and riderless, becomes something more. The Buddha once described the mind as like a boat on the river. When we see an empty boat drifting toward us, and it knocks into our own, we don't get angry. There's no one to blame. But if we see someone in the boat, we might shout, "Hey, watch where you're going." Suddenly, there's friction. Suddenly we suffer. The story begins here, by a river under the moon, with an empty boat. You imagine that in your day today, maybe you were bumped a few times. A look that felt too sharp, a comment too cold, an email with all the warmth of a refrigerator door. Each one hit you like a boat, didn't it? But were they really aiming? Was anyone inside the boat? Maybe the world is full of empty boats, people caught in their own currents, drifting without awareness. You included. And if that's true, then what changes when you stop taking things personally? A moth flutters past your face. The wind shifts slightly, and you catch the faint scent of night jasmine. Your body breathes. The air fills your lungs and then releases. That's all. That's all it's ever doing. What happens when you sit by the river and do nothing? There's a spaciousness to it. And in that space, the Buddha's voice drifts up, not as a sound, but as a knowing. If you let go a little, you'll have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you'll have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you'll have complete peace. You smile a little. Maybe it's the way the wind brushes your cheek, or maybe it's the truth of those words echoing in your chest. Either way, you understand something now, not with your intellect, but with your whole being. Letting go isn't a loss. It's a return to this moment, to the hush of nighttime crickets, to the gentle lap of water against stone, to the weightlessness of the soul when it stops dragging heavy opinions behind it. You've probably carried a few of those today. Maybe someone misunderstood you. Maybe you misunderstood yourself. But right now, under this sky, it's all forgiven. Or rather, it doesn't even need forgiving. It was just boats bumping in the river, empty boats. So ask yourself as you breathe again, if no one is steering the boat, why do you need to shout? And deeper still, if no one is there to take the blame, what are you still carrying? The river says nothing. It just flows, and the boat, it glides on as quiet as moonlight. You let your shoulders drop just a little. The day has already ended, but now your resistance ends too. All that effort to be understood, to be seen, to be approved of it, begins to dissolve like mist in the morning. You don't need to be anyone tonight. You can simply be not the captain, not the critic, not the perfect spiritual student, just the riverbank, just the watcher, just the space through which the boats pass one by one with no name and no destination. You listen just for a moment to the sound of your own breathing, and it sounds like peace. The boat drifts closer now, gently tapping against the bank where you sit. It makes a soft, hollow sound, wood brushing wood. And as you watch, you feel no need to stop it, no need to analyze its course. It's just a boat, unmanned, unbothered, like most things in your day that you mistook for attacks. You remember the Buddha's parable more clearly now. He said, when you see an empty boat colliding with your own, you don't get angry. But when there's someone inside, your temper rises. Why? Because then there's someone to blame, a face to hold responsible, a target for your hurt. But what if the boat is always empty, even when it's your boss, curt and distracted, even when it's your friend who didn't text back, even when it's you forgetting your own kindness in the stress of the moment. Empty boats, all of them, set adrift by their own momentum, pushed by the wind of circumstance. You picture a man rowing upriver. He's tense, straining against the current. Suddenly, an empty boat comes drifting downstream and bumps into him. He shouts in frustration. "Watch where you're going," he yells. But then he sees there's no one there. The anger has nowhere to go. It shrinks, diminishes, vanishes like fog under the sun. That's the teaching. Most of your pain, your frustration, your clinging to control comes from imagining a someone behind every bump. You create a story, a villain, a motive, and then you suffer the fiction you wrote in your own mind. But tonight, under this sky, that story feels thinner, more see-through. You think back to your day again. A disagreement, a judgment. Someone made a snide remark, and it landed like a stone in your stomach. Or maybe you replayed a mistake you made, how you said the wrong thing in the wrong tone, or didn't say anything at all. But here's the question. If there's no one steering the boat, why carry the bruise? You lean back into the earth. It's cool beneath you, supporting your spine like a cradle. The stars wink through the treetops. Somewhere far off, a night owl calls low rhythmic calm, and a thought emerges, not as a command, but as a curious invitation. What would it feel like to be the empty boat, not absent, not numb, but unattached, free? You could still bump into people. You'd still show up in the world. But you wouldn't carry a nameplate that reads, "I must prove myself." You wouldn't lash out or apologize for floating. You'd simply drift and let others drift too. This doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming peaceful, even while acting, even while speaking your truth. You don't have to swing the oar wildly to make progress. Sometimes, letting the current guide you is the most awakened thing you can do. You breathe in again deeper this time, and as you exhale, the tension softens in your jaw, your hands, your chest. You feel the grip of self-defensiveness ease. You're not in a battle. You're in a river. The Buddha's wisdom isn't asking you to erase your emotions. He's just showing you the way out of the maze of reactivity. Every time you step back, you see more. Every time you choose not to take the bait, you keep your freedom. So when someone bumps into you, tomorrow, cuts you off in traffic, forgets to say thank you, looks at you the wrong way, ask yourself, is their boat even occupied? You may find that it doesn't matter. You don't shout at the wind. You don't get angry at the rain. Why get angry at a mindless, drifting moment? And what about your own boat? Your own heart? How many times today did you bump into others unaware? A quick word spoken too sharply. A distraction mistaken for disinterest. We all send out little ripples, mostly without meaning to. Empty boats, all of us, trying not to tip over, so you forgive yourself too. You let your own mistakes be just part of the drift. You don't need to hold on to them like anchors. Let them float away. Let the moonlight polish them until they're just stories that dissolve into the mist of memory. The night deepens around you. A soft breeze brushes the tips of tall grass. The water keeps moving silent and silver, and there it is again. That calm, not something you grab, not a prize, just a quiet realization that you don't need to take everything so personally. You can float. The Buddha might smile here gently, not in mockery, but with the warm, knowing smile of someone who sees through the illusion. He would remind you, the fool who knows they are a fool is wise. The fool who thinks they are wise is truly foolish. Sometimes, thinking you're in control is the most foolish thing of all. Trying to row every boat, to steer every outcome, to control how others think of you. You don't need to do that tonight. Just float, because here in this moment, with your body resting, your breath steady, and your mind slowly unclenching its grip, what's left to prove? Nothing. Only presence remains. And as you feel it settle in warm and spacious, you whisper to yourself, just barely audible, I am the river. I am the boat. I am the watcher, and all is well. The river carries on as rivers do. You lie still, but your awareness floats. No paddle, no effort, just presence. A presence that notices everything. The weight of your limbs, the rhythm of breath, the quiet hum beneath the silence. Then a memory surfaces, a voice sharp and clear from earlier in the day. Maybe it was someone close. Maybe it was someone passing. But it stuck to you, like a burr. Words that weren't just words, they pierced, poked, maybe even hurt. And you felt the sting of it long after the moment passed. Criticism, disapproval, judgment. It lands like an arrow, doesn't it? But here's what the Buddha teaches. He abused me. He beat me. He defeated me. He robbed me. In those who harbor such thoughts, hatred will never cease. There's a pause inside you when you hear that. It's not about what was said or done. It's about whether you carry it. Because an arrow may be shot, but unless you pick it up and stab yourself with it, it cannot wound you twice. Most of our suffering isn't from the first pain. It's from the rehearsals, the replays, the retellings inside our own heads, again and again and again. You sit with that. How many arrows have you voluntarily picked up today? And how many were only feathers in disguise? You see the moment play out again. Someone's critical words, their disapproving tone. You felt heat rise in your chest. Your mind rushed to defend itself, to explain, to retaliate, or withdraw. And maybe you didn't respond out loud, but inside, a war began. What if tonight that war could end? You don't need to silence the voices. You don't need to become invincible. You simply choose not to take the arrow, not to press it deeper. You let the wind carry it away. The criticism, real or imagined, becomes like a sound heard from across a valley. Distant, faint, meaningless without your attention. And maybe you smile because it's so human to care. You're not failing for being affected. You're just learning how to not let the arrow live in your heart. A parable drifts into your mind. A monk once lived high in the hills in a small hut made of straw and mud. One day, a traveler came by and saw the monk sitting peacefully. He didn't like the look of him. "Lazy beggar," he shouted. "You sit there, doing nothing, while the world works." The monk looked up and said nothing. "You're worthless," the traveler continued. "A waste of breath." Still, the monk was silent. Finally, the traveler huffed and said, "Don't you have anything to say? I've insulted you to your face." And the monk, with a calm voice, replied, "If someone offers you a gift, and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The traveler was silent. That's how you are tonight. You don't have to accept every gift, especially not the sharp ones. Not every word deserves a home in your heart. Not every insult needs unpacking. You lie back again, hearing the night sounds with new ears. Crickets, the gentle rustle of trees, your own breath, like a tide rising and falling. The world isn't giant, but you can be still. And in that stillness, you begin to feel how criticism doesn't stick to something that isn't sticky. Like trying to glue anger to a cloud. There's an image now. Soft, delicate. A pond. On its surface float leaves, twigs. Maybe the occasional petal. If the pond is calm, the leaf drifts gently across it. But if stirred by wind or rock, the water churns, and everything becomes chaos. Which kind of pond is your mind tonight? The leaves are still there. Words said, judgments passed, opinions tossed around. But they don't churn you up. You watch them float, amused even. There's gentleness here, and maybe even a little humor. After all, when you zoom out just a bit, most criticisms are oddly funny. Like when someone tells a cat it's lazy. The cat just blinks slowly and goes back to sleeping on the windowsill. Could you be a little more cat tonight? You don't need to leap up and justify yourself. You don't need to argue with sleep-stealing thoughts. You're not a courtroom. You're a riverbank, and criticism. It's just driftwood. So here's the question for your breath to hold tonight. What if criticism wasn't a weapon, but a breeze You don't need to chase. You inhale slowly, letting the air move deep into your belly. Then let it go without force. Like a leaf falling, no resistance, no reaction. You remember. Now, even when someone shoots an arrow, you get to choose whether it becomes a wound or just a whisper in the wind. And even your own inner critic, that voice that's been riding shotgun in your head since childhood, it doesn't get to steer unless you hand over the wheel. Tonight, you don't. You pat the earth beside you, grounding yourself once again. The body is soft. The heart is soft. You've got nowhere to go, no one to impress. You are just here, not perfect, not immune, just free. Free to listen without reacting. Free to receive without holding. Free to live without being anyone other than this quiet, breathing, drifting presence. You gaze up at the stars now. They don't argue. They don't defend. They just shine. Maybe that's all you have to do too. You stay there a while, letting the quiet soak through your skin. The world still moves the river, the breeze, the slow dance of your lungs filling and releasing. But nothing feels hurried anymore. The urgency of being right, of being liked, of being seen, it has loosened its grip. In this stillness, a new image arrives, a mirror, not the kind in your bathroom, smudged from toothpaste and steamy mornings. This one is pristine, polished, like a frozen lake, smooth enough to reflect the sky. A mirror that reflects everything but holds on to nothing. That's your mind when it is at peace. The Buddha once said, just as a polished mirror reflects things as they are, so does the wise mind reflect without distortion. When you're praised, it reflects. When you're blamed, it reflects. But it doesn't cling to either. No pride when someone says, well done. No despair when someone says, you failed. The mirror doesn't puff up at beauty or crack at ugliness. It just reflects. You sit with that, your mind today. Was it more like that mirror? Or more like a fun house, one warping and twisting every look, every word, into some reflection of your self-worth? It's okay if it was. We all get a little wobbly. Sometimes, even a kind word can make us feel like we're finally enough. And a harsh word, well, that can undo an entire week of effort. Can't it? But what if your worth had nothing to do with reflection? Nothing to do with the opinions that bounce off of you. You close your eyes, and suddenly, you're the mirror. Wide, clear, cool. A bird sings. A memory rises. A worry flickers. You reflect it all, but none of it stays. And yet, being human means we're often smudged. That's where a story comes in. There was once a young novice monk who visited an old master. Master, he said, I've been meditating. reciting the sutras, doing all the things, but I'm still disturbed by other people's words. I can't stop reacting. The master said nothing. Instead, he handed the novice a mirror and asked, "What do you see?" "My face," the monk replied, "and if I hit it." The master tapped the mirror with a stick. "Do you feel pain?" "No, master. The mirror just shows the hit. It doesn't suffer." "Exactly," said the master. "Now go and be like the mirror." You smile at that. A little lesson tucked gently inside a parable. No shouting, no scolding, just the idea that you don't have to be so porous. You can be clear and soft and whole and still untouched by the drama around you. You breathe again. And this time, the breath seems to bounce off of you like light off that mirror. It's not that you're disconnected. It's that you're no longer defined by what comes in. There's still kindness here, still connection. You're not turning to stone, but you're also not gripping the praise or the blame like a child with a favorite toy. You recall how someone's compliment earlier made your heart swell. Then someone else's critique deflated it like a balloon. Up, down, all day long. That's exhausting. But now you start to wonder, what if I'm neither as good as they say, nor as bad as they say? What if I'm just here, existing, being, reflecting? The river ripples quietly, reflecting the stars above. The wind stirs the surface just slightly, and you can't tell where the sky ends and the water begins. That's what your mind feels like now. Seamless. You think back to moments when someone praised you and you clung to it like a life raft. I must be doing it right. But then later, someone else disapproved, and suddenly you doubted everything. Maybe I'm a failure after all. You can feel the tug of those voices even now, but they don't define you. Not anymore. They're just clouds passing over the mirror. They don't stain it. You remember a question that arises like a feather drifting down from a tree. Can you stay balanced in both praise and blame, not unaffected, just not toppled? That's the true power. That's what the Buddha meant, not becoming dull or numb, but becoming vast enough to hold everything lightly. You smile again, soft and secret. You begin to see that the mirror mind isn't something you create. It's something you return to. Under the smudges of ego, fear, insecurity, there it is. Always. And those smudges, they wipe away more easily than you think. With stillness, with breath, with a gentle awareness that says, "Oh, I was holding that I can let it go now." You lie there in the dark, the mirror of your mind, clearer than it's been all day. You see someone's harsh words floating across your memory, and instead of reacting, you nod to them like an old friend passing in the street. You see someone's praise sweet and warm, and you bow to it too, without clutching. everything comes. Everything goes, and you stay still, like the moon resting on a lake, not frozen, not stiff, just clear, just you, and nothing extra. The night deepens, and the sound of the river softens even more. Or maybe it's you, softening your listening, changing. The hush is deeper now, fuller, like the whole world is leaning in to hear your next breath. In the distance, you hear it again. The wind through bamboo, not a roar, not a scream. Just the wind passing through tall stalks, making them sing gently. Their song rises and falls, not because the bamboo fights the wind, but because it lets it move through. You listen closely. That's the teaching now. The Buddha once pointed to the trees when he spoke of the mind, how the wind of thoughts and emotions passes through us like air through leaves, bending us, stirring us, but never breaking what is deeply rooted. Just as the wind cannot shake a mountain, so does praise or blame not shake the wise. You're not quite a mountain yet, but perhaps you are like bamboo, pliable, hollow, willing. You don't need to block the wind. You don't need to stiffen yourself against life. That's how things snap. You just need to let it pass through. So now you breathe with that idea, letting your body be bamboo, letting your mind become a grove. Thoughts come. I should have done better. Why did they say that? What if they don't like me? They rustle your branches, but they don't break you. They pass through, just wind, and you standing tall, not because you resist, but because you yield. There's an old story told in mountain villages about the bamboo flute. A monk once carved one from a single stalk, simple and smooth. He used no decorations, no lacquer, nothing fancy, just a clean, empty channel. When he played it, the sound was pure, not because the flute was strong, but because it was hollow. Empty, that's you now, a vessel, clear, letting life flow through, not clinging to any particular note. You think of your day again. How many times did you try to block the wind? How many times did you tighten, resist, brace for the impact of words or moods? Now there's no need. The wind isn't your enemy. The wind just reminds you that you're alive. So you return to the breath, feeling it like air through flute, like breeze through leaves. Inhale, cool, slow, soft. Exhale, long, low, letting go. And with each breath, you let more space into your body. You become more like the bamboo, flexible, resilient, and surprisingly strong. You picture yourself in a grove. The moonlight filters through the leaves. The stalks rise around you like quiet sentinels, and the wind sings a lullaby of freedom. You wonder, what would it feel like to stop resisting everything that comes, even your discomfort, even your insecurities? Can they pass through you like the breeze through bamboo? You don't have to grip every feeling. You don't have to analyze every word. You are not a wall. You are not a dam. You are open, open enough to feel the wind and not fear it. Open enough to let the good and the bad move through you, like seasons. And just like that, something relaxes in you. Maybe it's the shoulders. Maybe it's deeper around the heart, that tight little knot of needing to be seen the right way, needing to be understood. It loosens, unwinds, because you don't have to be the wind, and you don't have to fight it either. You just have to be rooted, breathing present. Somewhere, a small animal rustles in the grass. You don't startle. You're not on edge. The night holds you, and you hold stillness. And that stillness teaches more than all the books ever could. It shows you gently that people's words are just air, that emotions are just weather, that your mind, like bamboo, is strongest when it stays empty, and that emptiness isn't lack, it's possibility. You ask yourself, can I become a hollow flute through which peace can sing? And the answer doesn't come in words. It comes in silence, in the space between thoughts, in the ease now spreading through your chest. Yes, you can't. You are. And as the breeze picks up slightly, and the bamboo hums its low ancient song, you realize this right here is enough. More than enough. You don't need anything else tonight. Not clarity, not certainty, not even answers. Just this moment, this breath, this wind, and the quiet music of letting go. Stillness continues to rise like mist slowly wrapping itself around your body, your thoughts, your breath. You're not asleep, not quite, but you're dreaming with your eyes open now. The world around you has softened at the edges. You imagine a door, old wood, carved with symbols you don't recognize, but feel familiar somehow. You open it and step into a quiet house. This house has no owner, no name on the door, but it's yours somehow. You walk through each room and find it empty, but not lonely, not abandoned. Empty like a freshly made bed. Empty like a cup waiting to be filled. The Buddha once described the mind as a guest house. Each morning, a new guest arrives. Joy, sorrow, irritation, shame, delight. They knock on the door. They enter. And then, eventually, they leave. The wise person, he said, does not block the door, doesn't beg them to stay, doesn't push them out. They just let them pass through. Tonight, you are the guest house, and already you feel a knock. Tap, tap, you open the door. It's worry. You nod and let it in. You don't ask where it's been. You don't give it the good couch. But you don't slam the door either. It comes in, walks a circle or two, and then settles. Soon another knock. This time, it's something sweeter. Maybe gratitude, maybe calm. You let it in too. The house grows fuller. not chaotic, just occupied. Each feeling sits in its own corner, doing its own thing. You don't have to entertain them. You just let them be. The wind rattles the shutters once, but you are unmoved. Because you know something now. You are not the guests. You are the space. You ask yourself quietly, why do I treat emotions like permanent residents when they are only visiting? A small laugh escapes you. It's funny, really, how often we cling to feelings. I am anxious. I am sad. As if these emotions are who you are. But they're not. They're just travelers, like rain clouds crossing the sky. You remember a story about a monk who was often visited by doubt. Every morning, it would show up, tap on his mind, whisper harsh things. Sometimes it shouted. One day, the monk didn't try to shut it out. He poured a cup of tea and said, "Welcome. Come in. Sit. Tell me your name again." And doubt did. It sat, fidgeted, told its old stories. But the monk just nodded and sipped his tea. Eventually, doubt ran out of things to say. Got bored. Left. That's how it goes. You're not ignoring your emotions tonight. You're honoring them by not letting them rule. You give them a chair, not a crown, and in doing so, you become vast, spacious, unbothered. Your breath flows in through the front door and out the back. Even your thoughts have softened their edges. They're no longer wild guests ransacking the place, just shapes passing through a generous house. You feel it in your chest now, a widening, like opening the windows and letting the night breeze in. You don't need incense or music, just this openness, this presence. It's funny, too, how often we slam the door on feelings we don't like. Not now, anger. Go away, fear. But they come back stronger, don't they? Like stubborn salespeople. But when you say, "Fine, come in," they often settle down. That's the secret. You don't tame emotions with force. You tame them with space. A tea kettle whistles quietly in the kitchen of your imaginary guest house. You let it sing. You don't rush to turn it off. Even noise has a place here, even discomfort, even the feeling of not enough. Because tonight, all guests are welcome, but none are in charge. You turn slowly in your mind, walking through the rooms. Each one holds something. A memory, a tension, a recent disappointment, maybe a fragile hope. You acknowledge them all. "Hello, thanks for coming. I see you." Then you walk on. Outside the house, the world is still spinning. People are still speaking. Opinions are still forming. But in here, it's quiet, and you're still, and you begin to understand that this is always available. This guest house lives inside you wherever you are. You can open it anytime, with a breath, with awareness, with kindness. You sit by the window now. The wind rattles again, but you're unmoved. You sip your invisible tea. Let the wind be the wind. Let the feelings be guests, and let yourself be what you've always been, beneath it all. The host, the watcher, the house itself. The house is still. You inside it, even stiller. There's something sacred about this pause, this rare moment when nothing pulls at you. Nothing needs to be solved. The guests have settled. The wind has quieted. And now you sit with a different kind of silence, the kind that's full, not empty. And from that fullness, a question surfaces. What happens when you stop needing to be right? You let the question hang in the air, like a soft chime, ringing gently without demand. It doesn't accuse. It just invites. You reflect on a conversation from earlier in the day, maybe something small, a disagreement, a tense exchange, the kind where your body tenses and your voice rises just a little. Maybe it was with a colleague, a loved one, or maybe it was just with yourself. You know that feeling. Well, the compulsion to explain, to correct, to defend your view. That tight sensation in your chest that says, they have to understand me. Or worse, they have to agree with me. But what if they don't? What if you let them drift by with their own thoughts, their own version of things? The Buddha once offered a radical path, not by fighting error, but by dissolving the need to win. He said, conquer anger with non-anger. Conquer badness with goodness. Conquer the stingy with giving, and the liar with truth. And you add to that silently. Conquer the need to be right with the willingness to simply be. You imagine the conversation again, but this time you don't argue. You don't try to win. You listen, not to respond, but to witness. Their words pass through you, like wind through a screen. You nod, perhaps. Or maybe you say nothing at all, and still, the world doesn't end. You're not diminished. In fact, you feel larger, more expansive. There's a story the old monks told about a man named Haru, who always carried 2 stones in his pocket. One was labeled, "I'm right." The other, "They're wrong." He polished them daily, fingering them every time he argued. One day, an elder saw him rubbing the stones and said, "Those will weigh you down, Haru." "But they give me strength," he replied. The elder smiled. "They only seem to. In truth, they tire your soul." Years later, Haru found that the stones had worn holes in his robe and in his heart. He finally let them go. And what he felt was not defeat, but freedom. You reach into your own pockets, metaphorically. Feel around. Are you still carrying those stones? You smile. Maybe you are. But maybe you're ready to set them down just for tonight. Just for this quiet. You feel how heavy it's been, holding that need to be understood, to be validated. It's exhausting. It robs you of rest, of peace. And here, under this soft moon, beside the whispering trees, you realize you can let them win, not because they are right, but because you are free. You don't have to be right to be at peace. You don't have to win the debate in your head before sleep finds you. You just have to release your grip. You breathe again. Deeper now. Like someone who finally unclenched their fists after a long time. It's not surrender. Not really. It's something braver. It's trust. Trust that truth doesn't need constant defense. That your value isn't up for vote. That reality doesn't need your commentary. It just is. You remember a time when you didn't respond. Maybe it was weeks ago. Maybe it was years. Someone lashed out. Someone misunderstood. And you said nothing. At first, it felt like weakness, but then a kind of still joy. A power that didn't shout, didn't fight. It simply was. You feel it now, humming under your ribs. You can let the world be wrong about you. You can let others finish the story their way because you know the truth. And sometimes that's enough. The night continues to unfold like silk, smooth, weightless, and you sit like a candle that doesn't flicker. The thoughts return as they always do. Should I have said more? Maybe I looked foolish. What if they think I was weak? But now you smile because you see the trap, and you know those thoughts are just echoes. The house is still. The guests are quiet, and you are tired of fighting shadows. You ask again, what happens when there's no one to fight and nothing to win? The answer comes in the wind. It says nothing, and somehow that's everything. You look up. The sky hasn't changed, but your mind has. Where once there were sharp corners, now there are curves. Where once there was tension, now there is tenderness. You're no longer performing, no longer trying to impress even yourself. You are resting in the soft truth. That peace doesn't arrive after the last argument. It begins the moment you decide not to argue at all. A soft rustle stirs the air. Maybe a breeze, maybe just your own imagination, lifting the night like a blanket. Either way, it carries you somewhere new into memory, into parable, into peace. You're sitting under a tree now in your mind's eye. It's the kind of tree the Buddha might have rested under a fig or a Bodhi, its roots deep and still, its branches sheltering the hush of dawn. Across from you sits a monk, legs folded, spine, long eyes soft but alert. You recognize him, not because you know his name, but because of the calm he wears like a second robe. He radiates a steadiness that you crave, not the stillness of a statue, but of someone who's stopped needing to react. You've heard of him before. This is the monk who never reacted. Legend says that villagers used to test him. Some would yell at him. Others would try to provoke him. They'd insult him, accuse him of terrible things, hoping to catch a flinch, a defense, an ounce of anger. But the monk never reacted, not from repression, but from something else entirely. Clarity. One day, someone asked him, "How do you stay so calm when people treat you so cruelly?" And the monk replied, "If someone brings a gift, and I do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" You've heard that idea before, perhaps. But tonight, it lands differently, more deeply. It's not just a clever parable. It's a practice, a way of walking through the world. You remember the gift of anger someone tried to hand you recently. You probably took it, unwrapped it. Maybe you even passed it on. But what if you had simply declined, not with smugness, not with spiritual pride, just with peace? You imagine it now. Someone criticizes you. Their tone sharp, their words weighted. You feel the sting at first, then you pause. You feel the reaction rise. But instead of fueling it, you breathe. You don't flinch. You don't retreat. You just notice the gift being offered and gently, kindly decline to accept it. And then the gift drops to the ground, harmless. You don't carry it. You don't pass it on. You simply let it sit there, unsorted, unclaimed. That's the power of this monk. Not silence as avoidance, but silence as mastery. You ask yourself, is it strength to shout back, or strength to stay soft? Because softness isn't weakness. You've seen how water wears down rock, how the wind shapes stone. You realize that when you react, you hand over your power. You become part of the storm. But when you stay soft, you stay free. There's a different kind of joy in that one that doesn't depend on being right or admired or even heard. It's the joy of not needing anything. You lie back beneath your imagined tree. The bark is rough against your shoulder blades. The earth cradles your weight. You breathe in the scent of night-damp leaves, cool soil, the faint sweetness of grass, and you start to feel something unshakable beneath your skin, like roots, like quiet dignity. You think of a time when someone came at you full of heat, frustration, blame, projection, and you perhaps met it with fire of your own. What if next time you don't? What if you become that monk, still clear, untouched, not for pride, not to win, just to be free? And then you see it, the illusion behind all criticism, that it's personal, that it defines you, that it matters more than your own peace. But you know now, most of it isn't even about you. People speak from their own pain, their own unmet needs, their own tangled narratives. You don't need to carry their story inside your heart. Let them drop their words like leaves. You just watch them fall. The Buddha said, hatred does not cease through hatred at any time. Hatred ceases through love. This is an unalterable law, and tonight, love looks like space. Love looks like non-reaction. Love looks like you, letting the storm pass without answering the thunder. You stretch your legs slightly. The tension in your hips unwinds. Even your jaw, often tight from the day, begins to soften. You think, maybe I don't need to say anything. Maybe I can just breathe instead. You are not here to absorb other people's suffering. You are not here to fix everyone's perception of you. You are here to dwell in peace and to share it silently by example. So now, when you remember someone's cruel words or feel the echo of a past moment that stung you, place it gently down beside you. You nod to it. You don't reject it. You just choose not to carry it. It's not yours. It never was. And as that truth settles in your bones, you begin to drift into the space the monk lived in, not above it all, but deep within. So deep that nothing can shake you. The night presses closer now, not heavy, but warm, like a soft blanket pulled up under your chin. Even your thoughts begin to stretch out longer and slower, like a cat curling into sleep. Still, you're awake enough to feel the shift inside you. Something is different. It's subtle, but you notice there's less noise, less rush, less need. What remains is gentle awareness. That feeling of simply being without needing to do anything with it. You remember the river from earlier, how it moved without effort, how it carried the empty boat without aim or resistance. You see that now, not just as a metaphor, but as a living practice. This ease, this flow. The Buddha once said, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, the wise are not moved by praise or blame. You've already felt how criticism slides off when the heart is still. But what about when the water churns inside you? When the storm isn't from the outside world, but from within? That's the teaching tonight. The practice of not resisting your own turbulence. You picture a still pond. Then someone throws a pebble. The water ripples. Maybe today was full of those pebbles. Small comments, self-judgments, disappointments you didn't speak aloud. They stirred your surface. You felt the echo, the splash. Maybe you still feel it now. But here's the grace. Ripples fade on their own. You don't have to still them with force. You don't have to fight the feeling. You just have to wait, to witness, and the water remembers how to be calm. There's an old Zen image of a leaf landing on water. If the water is still, the leaf simply floats. If the water is agitated, the leaf spins wildly. You breathe with that. You become both the water and the witness, and you notice every time you try to suppress a thought, it thrashes louder. Every time you try to fix a feeling, it tightens. But when you simply see it, name it gently, ah, this is restlessness, or here is irritation, it begins to loosen on its own. That's the magic of awareness. You're not here to control your experience. You're here to relate to it wisely. You ask yourself, what if I trusted my emotions to settle without fixing them? That question opens something inside, like a window cracked just wide enough for night air. You lie back again, sensing how your thoughts have become softer. Not absent, just less convincing, like a child who's tired of arguing. And into this space, a story arrives. There was once a man who walked each morning to a quiet lake to watch the sunrise. He carried many worries about work, about family, about whether he was doing life right. One day, he threw a stone into the lake and watched the ripples spread, thinking of his life's troubles. The next day, he did the same. Another stone, another ripple. But over time, he noticed something strange. No matter how big the stone, no matter how hard the throw, the ripples always faded. The lake always returned to stillness. That was the teaching. Simple, true, undeniable. The man didn't need to stop the ripples. He just needed to stop identifying with them. So now, when you feel a wave rise in your chest, regret, shame, annoyance, you pause. You remember the lake. You remember the surface is not the whole of the water. You are more than your ripples, more than your moods, and you don't need to hold stillness so tightly. It finds you, like water returning to its level. You breathe again, long and low, feeling your body sink deeper into the bed, the cushion, the floor, whatever is beneath you now. The earth holds you, just as it holds the river. No judgment, no condition. You return to the breath, not as a technique, but as an embrace. You don't do breathing anymore. You receive it. Let it rise and fall. Let it be enough. And it is. The mind stirs again. An old thought, a flicker of guilt, maybe. But it passes more quickly now. You don't cling. You don't swat it away. You let it ripple and fade. The stars above, if you could see them, would reflect in the water. But even if clouds cover the sky, the stars are still there. That's your calm, too, always present beneath the waves. So tonight, when something inside you ripples, don't rush to fix it. Don't panic. Just sit by your own shores, like the monk by the lake. Trust in stillness. Trust in time. Trust that the calm you crave is already in you, waiting, not behind achievement, not after everyone likes you, not when everything is settled, but right now, right here, in this breath. A hush has descended now. Not silence exactly, but a kind of living quiet. The kind that breathes with you. The kind that says, you don't have to try so hard anymore. You let your body settle just a little more. You notice how the shoulders don't need to hold the sky, how the jaw doesn't need to clench around old words, how the heart doesn't need to armor itself before sleep. This is new, or maybe it's always been here. And you're just now remembering. Outside in your mind's night garden, the wind picks up again. But this time, it brings something with it. Not fear, not worry, but movement. Motion that doesn't demand direction. A kind of grace in the drift. You see something in the air now. Light, soft. A feather. It floats down slowly, spinning a little as it descends, completely at the mercy of the breeze. Not fighting, not resisting, just letting itself be carried. You wonder, could I be that light? Could I be carried without needing to control the wind? You remember what the Buddha taught. Whatever is not yours, let go of it. Your letting go of it will be for your long-term happiness and benefit. Not yours, not your burden, not your battle, not your storm. You think of the emotions you clutched today, the blame you accepted, the praise you reached for, all the invisible weight you picked up without noticing. You hold those moments in your mind, and then one by one, picture placing them down, just like the feather. You let them float, because to be out isn't to be weak, it's to be unburdened. You imagine walking through your day like that feather, or like a leaf on the wind. You wouldn't stop participating. You wouldn't become numb, but you'd flow. You'd move with events, not against them, not blown around by impulse, but lifted by awareness. There's a folk tale that comes to mind now. A traveler once asked a monk, "How can I be strong in this chaotic world?" The monk handed him a feather. "This is your strength," he said. The traveler frowned. "But it's so fragile. It has no defense." The monk smiled. "Exactly. It doesn't need defense. It moves with the wind, and it always returns to the earth unharmed." The traveler looked confused. "But what if the wind is strong?" The monk whispered, "Then it flies further." You smile, because you understand now what it means to be strong without tension, to be soft without falling apart, to be moved but not shaken. You remember a moment recently, maybe just today, when you dug in your heels, when you clenched around a feeling or resisted a change. You thought you were holding your ground, but maybe you were just afraid to float. That's okay. We all are sometimes. But tonight, you try something different. You breathe in, feeling the wind. You breathe out, letting it carry you. You let go of needing to know where you'll land, and you realize suddenly you don't need a plan to find peace. You just need permission to drift. Even the feather has a kind of wisdom. It doesn't analyze the air current. It doesn't try to steer. It simply responds. And because of that, it travels further than the stone. You think of the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree. He wasn't grasping for enlightenment. He was just still, awake, open. And in that openness, Wisdom floated in. You can feel that too tonight, that your softness is not a liability, it's a doorway. So you let the muscles in your chest unclench. You release the mental list. You drop the old argument that's been echoing inside. Let it all become a feather. Let it fall. And if you worry that you'll float away untethered, don't, because something else holds you. Your breath, your body, this earth, this moment. You're never truly lost when you follow the wind with awareness. And if, for a moment, a storm returns, if someone's words tomorrow strike sharp, or your own thoughts grow heavy again, remember, the feather doesn't resist the storm. It dances with it. So let your stillness be that light. Let your wisdom be that free. Let your peace be as simple as this. Nothing to force, nothing to carry, nothing to prove. Just drift, just trust, just be. The wind has stilled again, and now the feather has come to rest softly, lightly on the surface of your awareness. You can almost feel its touch, not on your skin, but somewhere deeper, an inner quiet that doesn't demand anything from you. And from that quiet comes a question that feels at once strange and familiar. If there is no solid you, then who is being criticized? You breathe. Let the question echo. It doesn't come to unsettle you. It's not meant to confuse. It's meant to loosen something that's been wrapped too tightly around your heart. The idea that you are a fixed thing, a permanent self, a name that can be wounded or praised. But what if you're not? The Buddha once taught a deep truth, often misunderstood. All phenomena are not self. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. Not self. It's not a negation of your existence. It's not nihilism. It's freedom. You close your eyes and listen inward. Who are you really? The one who was angry this morning, the one who was laughing this afternoon, the one who felt small when criticized, the one who felt proud when praised. So many versions. Shifting, overlapping, dissolving into each other like clouds in a twilight sky. Which one is the real you? Maybe all of them. Maybe none. You remember a story from an old forest monastery. A young monk went to his teacher in tears after being insulted by another. He said, "I'm arrogant," the young monk sobbed. The teacher gently asked, "Are you arrogant?" "Sometimes," the monk admitted. "Then he's right. But I'm also humble," the monk added quickly. "Then he's also wrong." The teacher smiled. You are not just one thing. So why suffer as if you smile now too? Because that's exactly it. You are not just one thing. And so when someone judges you, good or bad, they're judging a moment, a glimpse, a costume you happened to wear that day. They don't see the entire river. They can't, because even you can't. That's the gift of the not-self teaching. You don't have to defend a solid identity. You don't have to reinforce a fixed version of who you are. You are allowed to shift, to change, to not know. And when you let go of the idea of a singular, permanent me criticism, starts to lose its sharpness. If someone criticizes a wave, do you argue on its behalf? If someone insults a cloud, does the sky care? You remember softly. There is no you to defend. There is only awareness. There is only presence. You let that truth settle, like dust slowly floating to the floor. And with it, something lightens. You recall how much energy you've spent today, or this week, or this life, trying to protect your image, trying to curate who you are in the minds of others, trying to fix misunderstandings, make people see the real you. But which you were you trying to prove? The calm one, the funny one, the competent one. And where are they now? Gone, dissolved, replaced by this soft, breathing presence, lying in bed, awake, aware, at peace. The you that lies here now is not the same as the one who rushed through the day. And that's not a problem. That's reality. You breathe again. A little deeper. A little slower. Each breath, a letting go of the idea that you must be consistent, that you must be perfect, that you must live up to someone else's version of who you're supposed to be. You are not a statue. You are a flame, always burning, always changing, and yet always here. There's a parable in the old texts about a chariot. The Buddha once asked a disciple, "What is a chariot?" The disciple answered, "It is the wheels, the axle, the yoke." But if you remove all those parts, the Buddha asked, "Is there still a chariot?" "No," the disciple said. "Then there's nothing left." Exactly, the Buddha said. The self is like that chariot, just parts held together by name and habit. You let that sink in. You're not your job. You're not your mistakes. You're not even your personality. You're a collection of processes, thoughts, feelings, sensations, held gently in the basket of awareness. So the next time someone tries to define you, let them. You don't have to cling to your reflection in their eyes. You don't have to adjust their mirror. You don't have to explain. You are not fixed. You are not frozen. You are fluid. And there is something so beautifully peaceful in that. You let out a sigh now, one you didn't know you were holding. It feels like exhaling a name tag you've worn too long. For tonight, you are nameless and free. The night air brushes gently against your skin. You hardly notice the passage of time now. Thoughts have thinned. Emotions have softened. What remains is a spaciousness, wide and comforting, like sitting inside the pause between heartbeats. You bring to mind a simple image, a ceramic bowl resting on a wooden table. It's plain, undecorated, empty, yet somehow it feels full of potential, full of stillness, full of peace. The Buddha once spoke of emptiness not as a void, but as freedom. Not as something missing, but as something liberated from clinging. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Words that sound like a riddle until you feel them in your bones. You glance again at the bowl in your mind. It's whole, because it holds nothing. It's perfect because it tries to hold everything lightly. You ask yourself, is emptiness really empty? Or is it exactly what gives life room to be? A story begins to unfold in your thoughts. Long ago, in a village nestled between forests and fields, there lived a quiet woman who made clay bowls. Her work was simple. She shaped, she fired, she placed them on shelves for people to take. One day, a rich man came and asked, "Which is your most valuable bowl?" She handed him the one with a small crack along the rim. "This one," she said. He frowned. "It's flawed." "No," she replied. "It's spacious. It lets in light." He didn't understand. But later, while sitting alone, he poured tea into the cracked bowl and watched the steam curl through the tiny opening. And for the first time, he saw beauty in the gap. You smile at the image because you've felt cracked too. Criticism has chipped your edges. Failure has left lines across your sense of self. But now you start to see those cracks weren't flaws. They were the way in, the way through, the places where the light came. You lie there now, not as something broken, but as something beautifully empty, like the bowl, capable of holding, capable of releasing, capable of resting. You remember a moment today when you tried to fill yourself maybe with achievement or approval or perfection. You reached, you grasped, you tried to make yourself whole. But the bowl doesn't need filling to be valuable. Its value is in its spaciousness. You feel that now, in your chest, in your breath, in your belly. The inner roominess. The quiet that expands as you let go of needing to be full. The more you release, the more peaceful you become. You don't need to fix the crack. You don't need to patch the opening. You just need to rest in your own gentle emptiness. There's an old saying in Zen, when the bowl is full, no tea can be poured. You chuckle softly. How often have you gone to sleep with a full bowl, full of thoughts, full of pride, full of regret, full of what-ifs and should-haves? Tonight you're not full. You are ready, ready to be poured into, ready to receive dreams, silence, healing. You don't resist the stillness anymore. You crave it because it doesn't ask you to be anything other than open. There's a kind of hurriedness in that emptiness, like the quiet after a deep exhale, like the space between notes in a lullaby, like the pause before a new breath begins. You wonder, what if I carried this emptiness with me tomorrow? Not as a lack, but as a blessing. And even now, you know the answer. If you walk into the day like the bowl, quiet, open light, you can meet others with compassion. You can meet yourself with ease. You won't overflow with old judgments. You won't clang with expectations. You'll hold only what's needed, and then let it go. The wind picks up outside, again, gentle, not urgent. It rustles the trees. It makes the bamboo sway. But it doesn't disturb you. You lie still, like a bowl on a table, steady, vast, empty, in the most beautiful way. Somewhere nearby, a low branch creaks in the wind. It isn't loud. It's just enough to remind you that the world continues to turn, and you still and spacious, like the empty bowl, turn gently with it. The air feels lighter now. So light, in fact, that a sense of humor begins to slip in. Not the laugh out loud kind, but the quiet chuckle of someone who's finally figured out that most of it doesn't matter as much as they thought. You remember a story, one of your favorites? Maybe because it doesn't shout enlightenment. Maybe because it's just funny in its own way. It goes like this. The Buddha was sitting beneath the Bodhi tree just after awakening. A man approached, squinting at him suspiciously. He asked, "Are you a god?" "No," said the Buddha. Then, "Are you a magician?" "A spirit." "A man?" "No," the Buddha replied. "I am awake." That's it. No glowing aura. No thunderclap. Just a smile and an honest answer. "I am awake." You grin a little in the dark. It's such a simple joke, almost cosmic in its quiet brilliance. Because when you finally stop clinging, stop chasing identities and accolades, stop trying to perform spirituality, what's left? Awareness, soft joy, a kind of internal giggle that says, "It was never that serious." You think back to a moment earlier this week. Someone said something. Maybe it wasn't even meant as a jab, but it landed. It lingered. It made you wince. You carried it for hours, maybe longer. But now, under this blanket of night, you see it more clearly. It was a leaf, not a sword. It was air, not an arrow. You clutched it like a truth, but it was just passing through. The Buddha's light laugh beneath the Bodhi tree reminds you of that. Not everything is a personal affront. Not every comment is a puzzle to solve. Sometimes it's just noise. Sometimes it's just wind. And sometimes it's funny. You remember a saying passed down through generations of monks. When you realize how perfect everything is, you will tilt your head back and laugh at the sky. You do that now, almost. Not a loud laugh, not a roar, just a little breath through the nose. A small smile that stretches across your face, uninvited, like the moon easing out from behind a cloud, because the sky hasn't changed, but your eyes have. You see the drama you played today, the inner monologue, the "what will they think" reel. You see how hard you tried to be good, to be seen, to not mess up. And it's kind of adorable, the same way a child trying to carry too many apples is adorable, even when they drop one or two. You forgive yourself quietly. You forgive everyone else too. Not because they've changed, but because you don't need to hold on to it anymore. It's too heavy, and besides, you're too light Now, you think of the Buddha again, laughing under the tree. Not at anyone, just at the whole show. The way we scramble for identity, cling to every opinion, recoil from criticism, like it's a physical blow. He saw through it, and he chuckled. So now you do the same. You see yourself trying to control what others think of you, and laugh gently. You see how tightly you tried to grip a single bad moment from your day, and laugh again, because it's all so human, so beautifully flawed. And the more awake you become, the kinder your humor becomes. You're not laughing at yourself. You're laughing with yourself, like a friend would. And there's healing in that. You ask yourself, can I meet my imperfections with kindness and my seriousness with laughter? And you know the answer. Yes, you can. You can become the kind of presence that others feel safe around. Not because you're flawless, but because you're real, because you smile more, because you care less about controlling things and more about connecting, because you understand that at the heart of the universe, there's not a rule book, but a rhythm, and it hums with joy. Even now, as you lie there nearly weightless, you feel it pulsing in your chest. That quiet joy, that lightness that says, it's okay. You've done enough today. You've let go enough. You've seen through just enough of the illusion. You don't need to wake up under a tree to know peace. Sometimes peace finds you right here, in bed, in breath, in the soft, silly joy of remembering you're already okay. You always were. There's something sacred in this stillness now, something both tender and vast. You don't feel small in it. You feel part of it, like a drop of dew resting on a lotus petal, fragile, weightless, perfectly placed. And even though thoughts still come, they pass more easily now, like clouds that no longer ask for your attention. You feel no urgency to chase them, no fear if they stay a while. You remember a teaching of the Buddha, soft as breath, just as dust cannot stick to the sky. Criticism cannot cling to one who is unattached. You imagine your heart as that sky, open, boundless, untouched by passing dust. And yet, how often have you tried to scrub the dust away, only to stir up more? It's in our nature, isn't it, to overthink that one sentence from someone else, to replay the exact moment someone didn't respond the way we hoped, to twist ourselves into shapes just to shake off a comment that was probably never about us to begin with. But now you start to see, it's not about never being touched. It's about not holding on. You picture the lotus floating on the water roots, anchored in the mud petals, wide open. The lotus isn't clean because it hides from the mud. It grows right through it. And still, the water rolls right off its leaves. That's your practice now, not to avoid life, but to rise from it untouched. There's a story, simple, almost overlooked, about a novice monk who once asked his teacher, How do I deal with insults? The teacher picked up a bit of ash from the hearth and flicked it into the air. Did the wind insult the sky? He asked. The monk blinked. No, master. Then why do you smile at that? A quiet smile. Because you've been the sky and the insult and the wind all in one. You remember a moment today, small, almost invisible, when someone's energy didn't match yours. They were short, maybe distracted, and your mind turned it into a narrative. They're mad at me. I did something wrong, but was it really about you, or was it just ash in the wind? You breathe in that image. Ash, wind, sky, and you feel the release, the clarity. Not everything said to you must be carried. Not every mood must be interpreted. Not every silence is a threat. Some things are just dust, and dust only settles if we give it a place to land. You don't need to be a sponge tonight. You don't need to absorb the world. Be the lotus. Be the sky. Let things pass over you. Like birds crossing the moon, you bring your awareness back to your breath. It has slowed now, so soft, it's almost not there. But it is. Gentle, rhythmic, true. Each breath says, stay light. Each breath says, stay free. You think of all the moments this week when your heart hardened just a little, when you braced for judgment or folded in on yourself after criticism. You were trying to protect something precious, but tonight you see what's most precious in you doesn't need protecting. It's untouchable. Your worth is not a layer of paint that can be chipped. It's the canvas beneath it, all unchanging, silent whole. You let that truth settle, like dust falling slowly, but never landing. And here's a question you let hover in your mind, with no need to answer. If you didn't take it personally, would it even hurt? Maybe the words wouldn't change. Maybe their tone wouldn't soften. But something would shift in you. You wouldn't shrink. You wouldn't clench. You'd simply hear the wind and let it move past. You are no longer a wall that everything sticks to. You are a breeze. You are water. You are space. And with every breath, you grow lighter. You imagine your body now like that lotus on still water. Rooted, yes, but floating, able to move, able to rise. The world will always have opinions. Some will praise, some will judge, some will misunderstand. Let them. That's not your weight to carry. Your job is simple. Breathe, bloom, let it all pass. You shift just slightly. Your body sinking deeper into rest, into the hush that follows insight. Each breath now feels like a small kindness, one that says, you've done enough, and means it. There's no more striving here, just presence, just peace. And into this quiet, another image arrives. A king's robe, rich velvet, heavy with gold stitching, trailing behind him as he walks through marble halls. Everyone bows. Everyone watches. Then, just as suddenly, you see another figure. a beggar, threadbare, barefoot, smiling. Side by side, they both pass you by. One crowned the other, crowned only by sunlight, and somehow the beggar's smile feels fuller. You know why, because the smile isn't seeking approval. It isn't performing. It simply is. The Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." You think of the king's words, strategic, grand, rehearsed, and then the beggar's silence. Which one brings you more peace? In the modern world, we're often taught to wear crowns, not of gold, but of identity. I am successful. I am important. I matter because I'm seen. You wear those robes too, sometimes. We all do. Social masks, digital profiles, the quiet panic of trying to appear whole. But under those layers, there's a different self. The one who doesn't need applause to feel real. The one who smiles barefoot. The one who already knows who they are. And tonight, that self steps forward. You remember something from earlier. Perhaps a moment when someone overlooked you. A conversation where you felt small or invisible. The part of you that wanted to shout, "See me, know me," but now you feel compassion for that version of you. They were just trying to be heard, to be worthy, and you whisper to them gently, "You already are." That's the truth. The Buddha offered again and again. Not that status is evil, or humility saintly, but that real value has nothing to do with what others see. You recall a story. A prince once renounced his throne to seek the truth. Along the road, he met an old man laughing beneath a tree. The prince, exhausted, asked him, "Why do you laugh?" The man replied, "Because you gave up a robe that wasn't yours to wear." The prince looked down. "But it was mine. I was born into it." "No," the man said. "It was placed on you. Now you are free to find the robe that no one can give and no one can take." You smile because you know that robe now. It's made of nothing but truth, woven from breath, colored with stillness. It's the garment of presence. You don't need to impress anyone to wear it. You don't need to hide flaws or inflate virtues. You just have to be here as you are. You think of all the times you've worn crowns that pinched, robes that felt too heavy, performances that drained your spirit, and now you drop them piece by piece. The need to be admired, the fear of being misunderstood, the pressure to be perfect. Let them fall to the floor. You walk barefoot now, like the beggar in your mind, and still you smile, because joy isn't in the jewels. It's in the freedom of not needing them. You ask yourself, what is the jewel no one can take from me? You let that question settle in your chest like a small, warm light, and in the silence that follows, something inside you answers not with words, but with knowing. It's this breath, it's this stillness, it's this quiet sense of enough. The night around you thickens soft as velvet, and you feel yourself wrapped in it, not cloaked in illusion, but held by truth. There's no king to impress, no beggar to pity, only you, beautifully between the two. No title, no lack, just awareness, breathing in and out of this moment. So now, when someone tries to define your worth by surface, things, status, appearance, reputation, you can smile like the beggar because you know the jewel. You've found the treasure that's never been hidden. It's in your stillness. It's in your vigilance. It's in the simple, sacred truth. You don't need a crown to be complete. You were never missing anything. Not really. The stillness holds you like a cradle now. There's no longer a sense of seeking, just resting. As if you've been walking for years and finally found a tree to sit beneath. One that doesn't ask you who you are or what you've done. One that simply offers shade. And now something new arises in this quiet, a kind of soft generosity, not the kind where you give from obligation or to earn something in return, but the kind that flows naturally when your own cup is no longer gripped with both hands. The kind that says, I have enough, and there's more where that came from. The Buddha once said, hatred does not cease by hatred. Hatred ceases by love, and love at its simplest is just a willingness to give. You remember a moment today, or maybe sometime this week, when someone said something that rubbed you the wrong way, something you took personally. You stiffened. You pulled back. Closed off. You're not wrong for that. It's human. But now, in this softness, you wonder, what if I had given kindness instead of retreat? What would that have changed in me? There's an image that comes to mind now. 2 candles in a dark room. One is already lit. The other is unlit, untouched. When the first candle leans over and lights the second, it loses nothing. Its flame is undiminished. But now the room is brighter. That's generosity of spirit. To meet harshness with gentleness. To meet coldness with warmth. To meet misunderstanding, not with defense, but with space. You don't have to agree. You don't have to like what's said. But you can still choose how you respond. And when you respond with kindness, you remain free. That's the paradox the Buddha offered. You win not by winning, but by not needing to win. There's a story from the old forest monasteries of a monk who was insulted again and again by a visitor. Still, the monk brought him tea, spoke softly, never defended. Finally, the visitor said, "Why don't you retaliate?" "I've said awful things." The monk replied, "If you drop poison into a clear stream, does the stream need to become poison to carry it away? You feel that now? You are that stream. Someone may pour in their pain, their bitterness, their anger, but it doesn't have to live in you. You carry it for a moment. Then you let it pass, and what flows out of you, not poison, peace. Kindness is not a performance. It's not about being saintly. It's about remembering who you really are when you're not reacting. You think of someone you find difficult, not your greatest adversary, just someone who stirs friction. Maybe they drain you. Maybe they always seem to misunderstand you. You imagine them now standing before you. They say the same things. Maybe their tone hasn't softened, but you have. You meet their words with breath. You meet their presence with space. You give not your agreement, not your approval, but your freedom. You don't bite the hook. You don't join the fire. You light a second candle instead, and suddenly you're no longer reacting. You're offering from abundance because you are no longer carrying the story that you're not enough. You're no longer trapped in the cycle of hurt, hurt, hurt. You've stepped off the wheel, and now, from the stillness, a new question arises. Can I offer peace, not because they deserve it, but because I do? The answer settles into your bones like warm tea after a long walk in the rain. Yes, yes, you can. You don't have to fight your way to calm. You don't have to earn your peace. You just have to give what you wish to receive. And so tonight, you give yourself a deep breath. You give yourself a gentle smile. You give yourself the benefit of the doubt. And then from that fullness, you give it to others, too. Not because they've asked, not because they've earned it, but because your own peace is worth more than your pride. You remember now, the candle loses nothing by lighting another. And you're full of light tonight. Let it shine. The room around you is quiet, and inside, it's even quieter. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, it feels rich. Like a library with no one speaking, only breathing. Like a temple in the hour just before dawn. And in this silence, you realize something unexpected. You don't need the last word. You don't need to echo back every unkindness. You don't need to prove your point or craft the perfect reply in your head before sleep. The Buddha once said, as an echo returns not to a silent cave, so does anger not return to one who does not reply. You let that linger. You think back to your day. Maybe there was a comment that stuck, a look that felt too sharp, a conversation that didn't end well. Maybe you've been carrying the need to say something, to write the mental reply, to polish the comeback, to finally feel victorious. But what if you don't echo? What if the words just land and stop? Not because you're weak, not because you're avoiding, but because you're done letting noise live rent-free in your mind. You are not an echo chamber. You are silence itself. There's a story the old monks tell of a layman who visited the Buddha and unleashed a stream of insults, harsh words, loud voice, fists clenched. The Buddha sat unmoved, serene. Finally, the man said, "Aren't you going to say anything?" The Buddha smiled and said, "If someone offers a gift, and I do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" You've heard that teaching before, but tonight it deepens, because sometimes we accept without realizing it. We rehearse the argument. We carry their mood in our body. We reply, if only in our mind. That's the echo. But you don't have to be the cave anymore. You can be the mountain, solid, silent, unmoved. A breeze passes over a mountain. It doesn't chase it. It doesn't echo it. It just lets it pass. So now you take a long breath, and with it, you let go of someone else's words, not because they were wrong, not because they were right, but because you are done repeating what doesn't serve your peace. You think of how often the mind loops, how it replays conversations, rehashes tone, re-explains what you wish you'd said. It tries to rewrite the past, as if that could change anything. But you know better now. You're not trying to win. You're trying to be free. And sometimes, freedom means not speaking, not retaliating, not echoing. There's a deeper kind of strength in quiet, the strength of a lake that reflects the sky but doesn't hold the storm. You ask yourself, can I let criticism stop with me? Can I be the last link in the chain? You breathe in again slowly. Yes, you can. You already are. You lie back more fully. Now, letting your shoulders melt into the bed, into the earth, into the moment. You feel the residue of the day, the old conversations, the little frictions begin to dissolve like mist. They were echoes. Nothing more. You don't need to pass them on. Let them die here, gently in your stillness. Let your silence be your teacher. Let your peace speak for you. And if your mind tries to tempt you again, but they need to hear this. What if I just explain it better? You smile at it like a child demanding candy before bed. Not now, little mind. Sleep is more important. Peace is more nourishing. You've said enough today. You've done enough. You've been enough. And now you can rest. You no longer need to return the echo. You are not part of the noise. You are the quiet at the center of it all. The silence has become its own landscape now. You walk through it like someone returning home, not hurried, not lost, just present, just aware. You're not thinking anymore in the usual way. You're resting in something quieter than thought, deeper than words. And from that quiet, an image appears, a full moon, high, bright, unmoving, and drifting slowly across its face clouds. Some light, and delicate others, heavy and dark. They move at their own pace, forming shapes, dissolving, reforming again. The moon doesn't resist. It doesn't complain. It simply shines. The Buddha once taught, the mind is luminous, but it is defiled by passing impurities. He never said the mind loses its light, only that we forget it's there when clouds pass through. Tonight, your thoughts are those clouds. So are your moods, your doubts, your inner critics. They come and go, but none of them are the moon. The moon is still there, always. So now when a thought arises, maybe regret, maybe tension. You don't push it away. You just watch it drift. You remember this too shall pass. Everything does. That tightness in your chest, it will ease. That lingering worry, it will dissolve. Even the feeling of peace you're holding now, it too will pass. But that doesn't make it less precious. It makes it more so. You breathe that in. A slow, unhurried breath. You're not trying to capture the moment. You're simply witnessing it. Like watching the moon from a quiet field, letting the sky do what it does. A story surfaces like a bubble rising from deep, still water. There was once a young monk who wept in frustration after weeks of restless meditation. "My mind keeps wandering," he cried. "I can't stop the thoughts." The old master smiled and said, "The sky has never minded the clouds." You smile too, because you see now that peace isn't the absence of thought. It's the absence of attachment to thought. The clouds don't stain the moon, and thoughts don't stain your true nature. You let a recent thought float by. I should be doing better. You don't resist it. You don't fix it. You let it pass. Then another. Maybe they were right about me. You feel its chill and let it go. Then I am okay. Even this one you let pass. Because no thought defines you. They're just weather. You, on the other hand, are the sky. And the sky never panics when it rains. It waits. It receives. It clears. You ask yourself, if I stopped identifying with every passing mood, who would I be underneath? And the answer isn't a name. It's a feeling. It's this spaciousness. You've spent so many days, maybe years, trying to feel better, trying to fix the storm, trying to shine harder. But now you see you were never dimmed. You were just covered, and covering is temporary. Even now, the clouds are parting. A little more moonlight reaches the trees. Your body relaxes further. You feel your face soften. Your hands grow heavy. You are resting like the moon rests, not hidden, not exposed, just there, present, luminous. The world may still swirl with noise tomorrow. People may still speak without care. You may still feel moments of tension, self-doubt, frustration. But you will remember the moon. You will remember that feelings come and go, that people's opinions rise and fall, that even this breath is temporary. But awareness stays still, bright, watching, not cold, not distant, just awake. And in that awareness, you find compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. You no longer rush to fix the sky. You no longer fear the clouds. You simply return to stillness again and again, like the tide returns to shore. You've become the witness now, the moon behind the clouds, the presence behind the thoughts, and that is more than enough. Sleep draws closer now, like a gentle friend approaching without footsteps. You feel its nearness, not in your eyelids, but in your spirit. a kind of trust blooming in the body, not from exhaustion, but from release. You've let go of so much. You wonder gently, is there anything left I need to hold? And the answer comes not as a thought, but as a feeling. No, not right now. Tonight, there is nothing to guard, nothing to prove, nothing to fix. You are free to rest, not just the body, but the need to become something more than you already are. The Buddha once said, "Abandon all that is not yours. Let it go." Your letting go will bring you joy and peace. You repeat that silently. Abandon what is not mine. You let those words settle into your bones like a lullaby, and then you feel your armor, the emotional one, the mental one, begin to loosen. Maybe you didn't realize you were still wearing it. That subtle layer of protection, the impulse to stay alert, to defend your reputation, to anticipate the next judgment. But tonight, you gently remove it. You don't need it here. No one is watching. No one is asking anything of you. You can be as you are. Bare, unshielded, whole. You imagine walking along a forest path. You've been carrying a backpack filled with heavy stones. One marked expectation, one regret, another self-image, and another fear. One by one, you take them out. You place them on the ground. You don't bury them. You don't throw them away. You just stop carrying them, and you keep walking, lighter, slower, but more fully alive. That's what it means to have nowhere to go. Not because you're lost, but because here is enough. You are not pushing forward tonight. You're not chasing a better version of yourself. You're not editing your past. You are simply sitting by the stream of now, and the water is still. There's a story whispered through centuries of forest monks, a tale of an old practitioner who finally reached his deepest peace. Not through meditation, not through effort, but by giving up. He had spent years trying to become enlightened. One night, sitting beside a fire, he let the effort fall away. He said to the stars, "I have nothing left to try." And in that moment, he felt something deeper than success. He felt the ease of being. That's what you feel now, that everything you thought you needed to be is just a thought. You're not that. You're not the trying. You're not the mask. You're not the plan. You are the space. All of that passes through. You breathe in, not to reach calm, not to earn peace, but just because breath comes. Like waves come, like birds fly, like night falls. You ask yourself, what if I am already the home I've been searching for? And then you feel it. Yes, this is home, this breath, this moment, this body softened by the day, this heart no longer armoring itself against imagined enemies, this mind resting from the climb. You don't need to impress the universe. You don't need to explain yourself to the sky. You don't need to understand everything before you can rest. You are allowed to lay it all down. You are allowed to just be. And being, as it turns out, is more than enough. There is no need for direction now. You've arrived, not at some faraway mountaintop, not at some future version of yourself. You've arrived in this exact, unremarkable, miraculous moment, and this moment is sacred because it requires nothing of you, nothing to guard, nowhere to go. Just this, just breath, just stillness, just you. The river returns, or perhaps you return to it. That same silver stream you imagined in the beginning, calm, slow, moonlit, comes back to you now, not as a symbol or memory, but as something deeper, a feeling, a knowing. You see the boat again, drifting down the quiet current. And this time, it is truly empty, not abandoned, not lost, just empty. You understand it now in a way you didn't before. Emptiness, not as absence, but as peace, as presence, as the gentle surrender of needing to steer. The Buddha's parable comes full circle. If you see an empty boat drifting toward you, and it bumps into your own, you do not get angry. But if you see someone in it, you shout, you blame. Tonight, the boat has no one inside, not even you, because you've let go of the need to defend, of the need to explain, of the need to be more than this breath. You have become the empty boat, and that is the highest form of peace. You are not floating because you've given up. You are floating because you've let go, not numb, not detached, but completely alive. There's a quiet story that finds you now. One more gift before sleep. A monk was asked how he could remain so calm in the face of insults. He replied, "Once I thought I was a candle in a storm. I feared every breeze. Now I know I am space around the flame. The wind cannot harm what has nothing to burn." You smile slowly. You feel it. There is nothing left in you to burn tonight. The criticism you heard, you no longer wear it like armor. The praise you sought, you no longer chase it like a hungry ghost. Even the thoughts that rise now faint and soft, they pass through you without resistance, because you are not the storm. You are not the flame. You are the space. And what is there to fear when you are the space that holds everything? You breathe again, maybe the slowest breath yet, and as you exhale, you feel yourself dissolve into the moment. There is no you that needs defending, no past to edit, no future to impress. Just the empty boat gliding over still water beneath a full and quiet moon. And now, a final question, floating gently into your awareness. If I let myself be empty, what will I become? And the answer is nothing and everything. You are the water. You are the moonlight. You are the sky, reflecting in the surface, and the boat no longer needs to be steered because there is nowhere to go. You are already here, at the end of striving, at the beginning of peace, at the still heart of all things. There is no more journey to take tonight, no more lessons to carry, no more echoes to respond to, just stillness, just softness, just the boat and the river, and you. And now, as the final breath of this story rises and falls within you, the world becomes very still. The river no longer moves, or perhaps your awareness no longer ripples. It doesn't matter which. Stillness has arrived, and it asks nothing from you. Let your limbs grow heavier now. Let your fingers curl slightly, your breath slow to a whisper, your mind dissolve like morning fog touched by light. All that you've heard tonight, the parables, the questions, the moments of letting go, have led you here, to this soft end, and this gentle beginning. You are not trying to fall asleep now. You are allowing it, letting the boat drift further down the stream until there is no boat, no water, no separation between body and night, no distinction between effort and ease. There is only silence, and you are safe in it. You are resting in a truth older than language, that nothing in you needs to be fixed before you can rest. That peace is your original state, not a reward, not a goal, but a home you never actually left. May the echoes stop here. May the waters stay calm. May your dreams be light and kind. And if any small thought returns before you sleep, greet it like a cloud crossing the moon. Let it pass, let it pass, let it pass.